You've been a former player at Pomepy, Alan. Now you work there. Just give us a sense of the mood around Fratton Park at the moment.
Well, as you can imagine, Darren, it's not too healthy. Very anxious, the fans. Very anxious, the staff that are already in situ, whether it be playing staff, whether it be staff working behind the scenes, whether it be staff working in the football club. We're all not sure of our futures. We're not sure whether we'll get across the line, and the players will say, the administrators, the owners or Portpin will come to that agreement, which will keep the club moving on and trying to move forward. So it's a really anxious time. We're all wondering what's happening next week and the week after, and whether we'll be in jobs. And don't forget, there's young scholars coming into the football club that just come in, and they're all a little bit anxious now. But at the moment, we're just getting on with what we're going to do, training the boys and making sure they're available for a game tomorrow night. And we just got to try and keep positive in adversity, which it is.
Alan, how is it possible for someone like you to entice young players there when they can go to Southampton down the road, or they could go into London for one of the other Premier League clubs? I mean, are you finding that very difficult at the moment?
Well, listen, young players, when they get an opportunity to go into any professional football club, it's a great privilege. We've got a lot of local young boys in there. We've actually had bids turned down for players, and players refusing to go to other clubs, one, namely Premiership club, because he wanted to stay at Portsmouth and work within the coaching staff, which is in the academy, and he thought his progress and his progression would be far better there. And obviously at the moment, if things get sorted out, hopefully in the short term, you know, the progression for some of these players might be a little bit quicker than it will be elsewhere. But just speaking personally within the academy, we've got good coaches here, and we competed very well last year as best we could with the circumstances we had. We've got to go category 3 now, if we can stay as a football club, and that's where they'll be. Same coaches, same situ, so they're quite happy to come to us. But obviously we know the big clubs around, your Chelsea's, your Southamptons, Brighton's now going category 1. We're going to find it very difficult to attract the top players. So we cut our cloth accordingly, and we try and give the best coaching we can to take them forward to play for Portsmouth, and that's all we can do, and that's our job.
Macca, it's Flash. You all right, mate?
Hello, pal, how are you?
I'm very well, yeah. Obviously, it's a big burden on your shoulders as well now, because there's going to be so much emphasis on bringing them kids through, because you're not going to be able to buy the players. So again, I think that it might make Portsmouth a more attractive proposition, because if you're good enough, it doesn't matter how old you are going to be given a chance.
Exactly right, and again, there is a big burden, but you know, hopefully the coaching staff we've got in and we've assembled are savvy enough and have got enough about them that we can produce kids. But obviously we can't produce a production line of kids that are just going to go straight in and be world-class players. That's just impossible. A game recently, and one or two of the boys struggled because they're only 17 or 18, but one boy 17, straight from a first-year scholar straight in and thrown the deep end. So it's difficult. So a lot of expectation, a lot of weight of expectation on their shoulders now. But listen, if you're good enough and you're savvy enough and you've got enough desire about you, you can go out and play. And as long as your performances are to a decent standard, then we'll obviously retain you at the club, and you've got a great chance. And that's what we've got to sell moving forward, because we can't compete with the big boys. We have to cut our cloth, like I've just said a moment ago. And hopefully players and young players can see that within the academy, the 100-odd players, I might add, we've got just over 100 players within the academy, and we've got all but 3 signed up. So they know there's something decent there. But it's whether it can be still there. And that's what we're hoping for, and that's what we want for everyone. And all round, it's a mess. But this mess goes on from years back. I mean, we could have bought the training ground 8 years ago for £3 million. That wasn't done within the Premiership times. Mismanagement at all levels at that particular time. Short-sighted thinking. You weren't thinking long-term and the health of the club moving forward. All short-sighted, short-term goals. Money is to stay within the Premiership, which you understand, but it could have been done, and the structure of the club should have been put in place by the people at the top running the club at the time, but they neglected to do that, and that's why we are where we are now. And it's easy to blame the players now in situ, but the situation has developed and has been developing for the past 5 years, and no one's dealt with it.
I agree with that. I've got a question. I'm a little bit confused. I wonder if you could clear this up. I accept that you're not privy to a lot of the workings behind the scenes, and so if it's difficult for you, I understand that fully, Alan. But I'm looking at the Portsmouth News here, and there's a story by Neil Allen around about 9 o'clock this morning, which has been picked up by some of the other newspapers today, suggesting that Michael Appleton is interested in bringing Sean Derry to the club from QPR. And the quotes are in the story as follows: Sean's a Premier League player. Would I be interested in a Premier League player? Of course I would. Why? if they're worried about the finances and they've had so many problems, Sean Derry wouldn't come cheap. So I'm confused. How on earth would Michael be interested in another Premier League player?
Well, listen, Sean Derry, has served QPR and a few clubs pretty well. He's coming towards the end of his career. He would have to work within the ceiling and the budget that's set for current players that come into the club. We'd hope that whoever comes in, they stick to that, because that clearly wasn't done last time, the last people in charge. So we'd hope he'd come in. And I don't know whether there's been conversations with Sean Derry, but if he's in a situation where he's not playing at QPR and he signed a contract, and I don't know how long he's got left in his contract, but if he gets reimbursed there at QPR quite well, and he's got maybe the chance to come in and be an influence to take the club forward, then it might suit him. I don't know where he lives, I don't know what his family situation is, but any sort of experience like Sean Derry or any players like that to come in and help the young players, which undoubtedly will be there, would be welcome. And again, every avenue has to be explored, whether you're Premiership and you can't find a club. I understand the ramifications of Pomepy at the minute, it's difficult, but the club hopefully will survive and move forward. And if it does, we need people who are willing to roll their sleeves up, which Sean has done all year, and prove an asset at certain clubs. And they've got promotion, and he seems a leader on the pitch, and maybe that's what we need, someone in and around the place that can galvanise and help the young players, because that's what we need, some experience in amongst all these kids. And it might work, it might not, but
yeah.
I've read what you've read, and if it could be done, I think it's something that could be beneficial for everyone in the club, if he was willing to come.
Alan, we're normally impartial in here, but I really do wish you well. Hope you come through this. We've had this a few times and you've come through it before. Hope you come through it again.
Thank you. I really appreciate your help. Thank you.
Good luck, Macca.
Good luck.
Cheers, guys. Thank you. Bye.
Alan McLoughlin, the former Portsmouth midfielder.